I'm going on vacation in a few weeks and I want to travel light, so I won't bring my laptop with me. So I was looking for a way to edit pictures on my phone. And what I found is a way to use Darktable on my phone. And it doesn't just work for Darktable, it works for RawTherapee as well. So if you want to know how to install it, stick around. But before you get too excited, I just want to say that this solution is not very convenient. And I don't think I will use it on vacation. But I think it's fun and that's why I'm sharing it with you. To make that work, we will once again use Docker. So for those of you who don't know, Docker is a way to package an application and everything it needs inside one container. And there are containers for Darktable and RawTherapee. If, for example, I install it on my computer, it means that I can open the web browser and access the Darktable container from my web browser. But then I can expose this container to my local network. This means that any device with a web browser will be able to access it. So you can use your phone, your tablet, an old laptop, and you will be able to access Darktable from the web browser. With a setup like this, you can easily install the Darktable or RawTherapee containers on your computer. And then if you have a tablet or a small laptop, you can be editing pictures from anywhere in your house. So you could go to the bathroom, edit pictures, go to your living room, edit pictures, sky's the limit. And then if you have a VPN, it means that you can be anywhere in the world and you will be able to access your Darktable and RawTherapee container, as long as you have an internet access. This setup doesn't work well on a phone because the screen is too small. But if you have a tablet or a small laptop, I think there are use cases for a setup like this. Today we are in a Linux Mint virtual machine. But Docker is also available on Windows and macOS. So the installation of Docker desktop on Windows and macOS is very easy, so I won't cover it in this video. But if you want to see it in a video, you can look my AI Toolbox video for the installation procedure. So I will put the link somewhere in the screen. But now the installation of Docker on Linux will depend on your Linux distribution. So in my case, we are on Linux Mint. So it's Ubuntu based. So to do the installation, we just have to go on the Docker website. So they have a lot of documentation explaining how to do a lot of stuff, including installation. So basically the installation procedure is just to copy paste a few commands and that's it. So the first command we have to copy will simply add the Docker repository to our package manager. Next, the second command we have to copy will install Docker and some dependencies. So when the command is completed, Docker is installed and you can use it. But when you install it like this, you won't be able to run Docker without sudo. So to prevent that, I suggest you follow the post-installation steps. So this will let you run Docker without any sudo privileges. When you click on post-installation, you go to a new page with a few commands you have to copy and paste. So the first command will add the Docker group. Then the second command will add your user to that group. And the third command will activate the change. Now it's time to install the Darktable or RawTherapee container. So to do so, go to Docker Hub and look for the software you want. So all the links will be in the video description in case you need them. Also, regardless of if you want to install Darktable or RawTherapee, make sure to select the containers from Linux server. For this example, we will install Darktable, and if we go at the bottom of the page, we will see the commands we have to run if we want to install it. Now, as you can see, there are two ways for installing Darktable, so we can use Docker Compose or Docker CLI. Docker Compose is the recommendation, and it's also what I recommend. So on all my computers that are running Docker containers, I'm always using Docker Compose because it's a lot more convenient. But for this example, we will use Docker CLI because it's easier. But if you're serious about using Docker and you're planning on installing it on some computers, I suggest you take a look at Docker Compose because your life will be much easier. Now we can copy the Docker CLI command and paste it in our terminal. But before we press enter, there are two things we have to change. So first we have to change the time zone and then we have to change the configuration path. For this example, I'm typing /docker_config. So because I'm currently in my home directory, this will create a folder called docker_config in my home directory. And that folder will be synced with the configuration folder inside the Docker container. And that folder is basically the only folder on your system the Docker container can access. So that's where we will put our pictures. Now, when everything is fine, you can press enter and Docker will download the Darktable container. If I press ls, I can confirm that in the current directory, there was a folder named docker_config that was created. Now it's time to see if everything is working, so you can open your web browser and in the URL bar, you can type 127.0.0.1 column 3001. So I made a mistake when I was recording the B-roll, so I used the port 3000. So 3000 is for HTTP. So it's better to use 3001, which is HTTPS. Now everything is local, so we have one machine with the Docker container, and from that machine we can open the web browser to access Darktable. But if we want to access it from another device on the network, we have to play with firewalls. Linux Mint uses the uncomplicated firewall, so you can type this command to see which ports are open. So in my case, the firewall was not activated at all. If the firewall is activated, then you have to run this command to expose the port 3001. Also, some distributions might be using a different firewall, so you have to check which firewall your distribution is using. And you might also have firewalls in your router that will prevent you from accessing certain port on your local network. So if that's the case, then you might have to log on your router to change a few settings. Now that the firewall rules are set up, you can access your Darktable container from any device on your network. But to do that, you need to know the IP address of the machine that is running the Docker container. So with Linux, you just have to type this command to check your computer IP address. So when you have that IP address, you can use any other device, and you just have to type the IP address column 3001, and then you will be able to access Darktable. When you type the IP address on most browsers, you will probably see a warning page, so you just have to click on proceed anyway. Now that we have everything configured, it's time to put some pictures in our container. So right now I have a folder with 2 pictures. So I will copy it inside our container. So in my case, it's under Docker config, and then I will put it inside the desktop. So now if I go back to the Darktable container and I click on add to library, under desktop, I should have my new folder. So if I click on add to library, then I have all my pictures. And as a reminder, the reason we are doing this is because the container doesn't have access to your entire file system. So when we created the container, we gave it access to a specific folder, and that's the only folder it will be able to see. So if we want to edit pictures with Darktable, we have to copy them inside the folder the container have access. If you don't want to copy and paste pictures every time, there is a second method. So when we create a container, we can give it access to the entire pictures folder. So because I've already created a container, I need to delete it. So to do that, we type docker stop Darktable. So this will stop the container. Then we type docker rm Darktable. So this will remove the container. And now we will be able to create a new container that will have access to our picture folder. So the command to create the container that have access to the picture folder will be in the video description. But basically, I'm just adding a new flag, and I give it access to the picture folder in my home directory, and I sync it with the desktop folder inside the container. So now if I go back to Darktable and I click on add library, if I go under desktop, I should see all the folder and files that are in my picture directory. So that's it for me. So this video was an overview, but actually there is much more you can do with Docker. So if you want to dig more into Docker, I suggest you have a look at Docker Compose. Also, if you want, you can also give container access to your GPU for hardware acceleration. So honestly, it's sky's the limit with Docker. So I hope the video was fun or helpful, and if you have recommendations for photo editors that run on an Android phone, let me know in the comments. So that's it for me. See you next time.